Hi and welcome back aboard Intrepid Bear for episode 1. This is it, this is the episode where we leave the marine, become full-time cruisers, off to explore who knows where, perhaps around the world. In this episode we go through some rough seas, some lovely flat seas and everything in between. We've got a little bit of work to do on the boat first, which I'll just take you through that. But also it'd be really helpful if you could just click like and subscribe on this video, subscribe to the channel. Apparently that's really good for us YouTubers. I'm a bit new to this, but maybe it means YouTube might even give us some money one day, you never know. But anyway, click like and subscribe down below and we'll get going. First of all, a couple of minutes just of what I've been doing on the boat and then we'll get on to the rest of it. We fitted the plotter and the radar, so I'll show you a picture of the chart plotter. The radar dome, I put up the mast some time ago, and there's a YouTube video back along a little bit, and that's about how I climbed the mast and put that up there. The autopilot has been fitted. We've put up the solar arch and the solar panels have been fitted to the arch. And you've seen that if you check out our prequel video, which is episode 0.5. Have a look at that. We've fitted a 3 kilowatt inverter in with the solar MPPT controllers, so that can give us 3 kilowatts of mains electricity from the batteries. And a large portion of the work was down in the cockpit locker, and I'll hand you over to a younger version of myself to explain what's gone on down there. Hi, welcome to the cockpit locker. Seem to have spent my life down here lately, so you're going to come down and have a look, see what's been going on. First of all, you can see down on the floor the holding tank has gone. This space here was all holding tank, and the old calorifier has gone. That has been replaced by a twin coil calorifier, so now it can take hot water either from the engine, which is down on this coil here, or from a diesel heater, which I'll talk about shortly. So that's why it's called a twin coil. It's still got the immersion heater as well, that's in there. And then the most obvious thing is the new holding tank is now on the bulkhead there. It's not as big as the old one, but to get a new one to fit down in this space down here where my feet currently are and in under there would have been so expensive. On the back wall, this is where things have also changed. So there is the new air dispatcher, because the old one was very hit and miss. Below that, this is an air dispatcher hydronic, so this one is going to give us hot water when we're at anchor. It's a little bit of an extravagance, but I had that spare from a previous boat. As well as that, we've got a new expansion tank for the hot water tanks, and then over there is a new accumulator for the cold water system, which smooths out the flow. Over there, that's just a header tank for the hydronic air dispatcher. So that's all done, so now we are ready. Are we finished? No, are we? Heck, there's loads left to do, but the boat can go to sea. We are independent with our solar panels and we're good to go, and we're ready to move off tomorrow. So with the important work all done, we took a final walk along Poole Quay, as we had done most evenings recently. It's amazing how even after 30 years in a place you still notice new things, and this seems to be even more heightened by this being our final walk. Say goodbye to Baden Powell. Kate's just pointed out, in all her years of being in Poole, she's never yet climbed up the sea music sculpture. So on our last night here, I suppose we better do that. Then back through the industrial areas to the port of Poole Marina, ready for departure tomorrow. Here we are, all prepped for departure. The ensign's up, that's a sure sign that we're ready to go. Just looking at the wind and conditions, so you can see up at the bow here, the wind is blowing from our port side, so it will be blowing us off the berth. So I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do. So the plan is to have this stern line rigged as a slip. So when it's rigged as a slip, it's just looped around the cleat there. That means that it can be recovered from the boat, so we don't have to have anyone on shore. When we're ready to go, I'm just going to drive quite hard against that stern line, and as long as it's not too breezy, and I can cheat with the bow thrust if I want to, As long as it's not too breezy, that'll hold the boat locked in against the side. We can take all the other lines off, just leaving the 2 fenders down the side, and then we can get really tidied up before we leave. And then when we slip, all Kate's got left to do is take off that stern line and take in the 2 fenders, and then we're good to go out into the harbour. Pleasant voyages. Thank you very much.
Enjoy. Bye.
Bye. Some marina friends wanted to wave us off, so we set our departure for 1300 and left on the dot. Whew.
Coming back in about 3 months ago,
Yeah. See you later, guys. Yeah, there's some time. Yeah, I'll catch you up for that beer at some point. There we go, leaving the home marina. Last time ever. Not going far today, but that's besides the point. We are now travellers. And just like that, we no longer had a fixed base. We didn't go far that evening, only round to South Deep in Poole Harbour. South Deep is one of our favourite harbour anchorages, and so it was fantastic that we were treated to a fabulous sunset for our last evening. As well as a delicious roast dinner. It really doesn't get much better than that. So here we are.
Yeah, cheers, baby.
At anchor, just around the corner, but we've left, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Roast dinner, gravy, beer. Sorted. And there we spent a fabulous evening in Poole Harbour before our final departure the following day.
The next morning dawned clear, bright and calm.
So after a week of a little bit of a worry about the weather, this is our weather window. If anything, there's not going to be enough wind, but I'll take that any day over smashing into 30 knots of wind heading down towards Portland. So yeah, we're good. The main problem we've been worrying about all week is the fact that there was a forecast strong winds all week with only this one gap on Tuesday or Wednesday. If this gap hadn't materialised, we might have had a problem. I say, we might be motoring, but I'll take that.
After a relaxed morning waiting for the tide, it was time to weigh anchor and leave Poole behind us.
Farewell to South Deep. I'm gonna miss you.
Opening more anchorages to sea.
There we go, we're going out of Poole Harbour entrance, quite possibly for the last time ever. Quite a big deal for us, as we've been boating in this harbour for almost 30 years, working, living and boating for leisure. And now we're going out for the last time. Probably been in and out of this entrance hundreds if not thousands of times. How do you feel?
Had the odd moment of like, oh, excitement and weirdness, but yeah, it's good. I'm excited.
Cool. How do I feel? Don't know really. Bit of a strange one. It doesn't feel like we're leaving forever, and I don't suppose it's really going to sink in until we get further down the coast and never come back. And so, with Poole behind us, we motored gently out into the bay, but where to? So there we are at last. Leave the harbour, point the bow to the horizon, head off in search of freedom, of adventure, to where the sea meets the sky, the distant horizon, distant shores, to
Portland.
Yeah, okay, to Portland. So yes, Portland was our destination, as we were due to be lifted out of the water for a scrub and some jobs on the bottom of the boat. There was little wind, so we initially motored down the familiar coastline, a trip that we'd made many times before. Between St Albans Head and Lulworth Cove is a military firing range with a sea danger area that needs to be avoided. We'd already heard the guns, so knew the range was active. Range control, sailing vessel Intrepid Bear, channel 08 over.
Intrepid Bear, Rangecraft, go ahead.
Rangecraft and Intrepid Bear, good afternoon to you, sir. We've just come round Durlston, heading to the west. We're about half an hour from St Albans. Can hear you're active. How far would you like us to go out over?
Yes, sir, we're 3 miles off the land. If you can stay south of the 5034 line, south of the 5034 line, as you transit down through, that'll be brilliant.
Rangecraft, this is Intrepid Bear, south of the 5034 line, all received, will do. Many thanks, standing by 08 and 16.
Many thanks, safe journey down through.
So as you heard, they want us to stay south of the 5034 latitude line. So I've just popped a waypoint on the chart. So as long as we clear that, then we can go due west and we'll be clear of what they want us to do. Now, it would also be fair to say that the firing range is not the only hazard off of St Albans. There is also a tidal race where the water depth suddenly shallows and the water is forced upwards and disturbed. On this day there was no wind, but a very strong tide ensured that the race was interesting. This one's going to come over the bow any second now. Here we go. Boosh! Boosh! I say! After that we decided not to keep the spinnaker bag on deck anymore. It was clipped on, but it did move rather alarmingly in that wave.
After that, things calmed down significantly, and there was even little wind, allowing us to switch off the engine for the first time and enjoy a peaceful sail. It was a downwind sail, so Iain rigged the pole to hold up the genoa.
So finally got a little bit of wind. So poled out genoa, so the genoa, this big white flappy thing, is out on our port side, and then on our starboard side, the main. So people call that wing on wing. So yeah, actually sailing. Got a lot of tide with us. So we're doing about 6 knots, so it's not too bad.
It was such a peaceful sail that we could sit down to dinner.
Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome. With the benefit of a strong spring tide pushing us along, we made good time and soon arrived into Portland Harbour, where we moored alongside Iain's dad's little ship.
The next day we were lifted out of the water after around 20 months afloat. Not bad at all for 18 months. There's a little bit of fur. That's not bad. Copper coat, good. The growth on the hull was not too bad considering the time we'd been afloat, but there was something strange on the keel. Just interested what that is down there. Oh, that's Chichester mud, I think. It was mud from Chichester Harbour, still clinging on after around 80 nautical miles. Check out our episode 0.5, our prequel video, to see how it got there. And then onto a hydraulic trailer to be moved to where we were going to be working on the boat. It's quite strange to see your floating home driving down the road. And then began 2 weeks of boat chores, most of which we won't go into right now. But the main purpose of the lift was to fit this beautiful feathering propeller. Oh, shiny. Which I really didn't want to put in the water, but then that's what it's for. The purpose of a feathering propeller is to reduce drag caused by a fixed propeller. And this is how this particular type works. Okay, so the reason I've taken the anode off is so that I can use the spanner to act like the engine. So what we've got is the outer hub, and inside there's some funky gears. There's all sorts of gears in there which control these blades. So the inner shaft is what's turned by the engine. So when the engine goes forwards, the shaft is turned clockwise, which I will do with this spanner. So as the shaft goes forwards, the water pressure tends to hold the blades back a bit. So the shaft will spin, and the blades will, obviously they'll start to spin, but they won't spin as quick as the shaft. So when that happens, turn the shaft and you can see the blades bring themselves round to the forward position, and then so when it gets to the end, it stops, carries on turning and drives the boat forward. If you switch to reverse, then the shaft goes the other way, the blades come all the way round and flop around to that direction, and then they stop there. The shaft catches up and the propeller turns that way and drives the boat backwards. So from the forward position, when the boat is going forward, propeller's turning that way. As you stop, then the water pressure then from the forward motion of the boat, so you stop the gear, you put the boat in neutral or even in astern to stop the shaft from spinning. The water pressure then just presses on the blades and they automatically bring themselves into what's called the feathered position, which is nice and smooth with the water flow, presenting no resistance, and so that allows the boat to go a little bit faster when you're sailing. The bottom of our boat has been copper coated in the past, and it still seems to be working really well, as you saw earlier. There were very few barnacles, just a few on the bottom, but there's just this one fellow a bit further up who seemed to be stronger than all the rest. And there's one fellow right here. He's clinging on where all else have failed. Super barnacle. I think. What do you reckon? Should we let him live?
No.
Whilst in the boatyard, we got busted trying to live on board in the yard, so when we weren't supposed to. Hiding inside, but we are moving whilst in bed. Ah, adventures. So we had to stay aboard Dad's little ship instead. The beds were not quite what we were used to, but very cosy and comfy all the same, and we were very grateful for somewhere to actually stay. This is our temporary accommodation since we got thrown out of the marina because we were trying to sleep in the car park. Oh, there's Kate tucked in her little bunk over there. But it wasn't all work at Portland. The marina area is built on what used to be the Naval Air Station that I grew up overlooking. It was good to see some reminders, and even better to see part of it still operated in private hands. Now, Kate got in trouble in episode 0.5 for not saying hello to our grandson. So this seemed the perfect opportunity to put that right. Cameron, this helicopter is for you. Yeah, proper retired, yeah. With all the jobs done, it was time to get back afloat. We were delighted and relieved that there were no leaks when she was relaunched. So here we are, beautiful evening. So nice to be back on the water. It's never nice living in a boatyard or even being in the boatyard working all day. The grit on the deck, it's grim. It's good to get it done. We're back in the water, nothing's leaking, and look at this evening. So we put her back alongside Dad's boat for a final evening dinner with him before setting sail the next day. And what are you cooking tonight?
One of your favourite dishes.
Which is?
Teriyaki chicken.
Teriyaki chicken. So although it had been a hard 2 weeks getting stuff done and living between boats, it was made a lot easier being at Dad's, as he's an engineer and can fix basically anything. We may also have shared a bottle of wine, or 3, and obviously we played some bagpipes. It was great to spend some time together, so when it came time to say farewell and he piped us out, it was quite emotional. So this is where episode 1 ends, and I'll leave you with the sound of the pipes fading behind us. Take it away, Dad.